Wait a second. Okay. And now the countdown is starting on Instagram. Perfect. And now we're live. Hello, people who are joining. Thank you for bearing with us while we, dealt with the tech issues. Reason for our delay. I'm happy you're here. I'm going to start with introductions. My name is Naima. There's some freezing. Pronouns she, hers, hers. So what I do for a living, I'm a pre-licensed therapist. I found the Deaf Mental Health Hub. Visual descriptions I have on a blue sweater with some earrings, some blue earrings. My hair is down and wavy, glasses, I'm light skin. I'm sitting in a pink chair, and you can see a black table beside me. Okay. And now we're going to turn it over to our guest for today. Um, and go ahead and introduce yourself and provide a visual description.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon. I go by Shanby on my Instagram. I think of myself as a deaf, hard of hearing advocate. I use my social media to basically share my experience as a deaf, hard of hearing person, especially geared towards my motherhood experience. I'm also a member of a grassroots group of moms called Mother Forward, and we are trying to make changes towards like childcare affordability and paid leave for families.
Nice. I love that. And do you mind doing a visual description?
Oh, visual description. I have a white shirt on. It says Mother Forward. I am light skinned, glasses, and I have a messy bun.
Love it, love it. Okay, so before I proceed, typically we'll do a little introduction of what we're bringing today for community action. So I first want to thank you for the interpreter who showed up this evening, who's advocating for accessibility for the deaf community and the signing community. We've got some freezing. Community members who have also donated to this event as well. Thank you all. This platform is being used, as I mentioned before. It's still a work in progress. We're still trying to figure out, the kinks, but there might be some freezing tonight. Hopefully it's not as bad. Fingers crossed. And so with this community care and action, the goal is to centralize different resources. Each community member, different ways that we can contribute, whether that's hearing, whether you sign, whether you're deaf, just using your resources and your knowledge to share within the community. And so really, it's up to you what you want to take, what information you don't want to take. We respect all of the differences here, but that's why we're gathered here today. And so thank you all for showing up tonight. Today, we'll go ahead and move forward with Shannon tonight. We're going to be discussing resources, different ways that we can reach out to senators. As you saw with our recent collab video, just how to reach out to senators, how can we get in contact with them, what is the point of it? And I think that's very valuable information. There's a lot of hot topics within politics, a lot of conflict arising with ICE. And so it's really important for us to know how to advocate for ourselves within the community. And really, it's about how can we advocate with the barriers that we have. And so today we're going to be talking about how can we do advocacy with the tools and the resources that we can use to make things accessible for us in our social justice work. Shannon, would you like to add anything?
Yes, I basically posted a video of how I wanted to take part in reaching out to my state representative. And I paired a captioning app for my phone, which I use InnoCaption, and I used Five Calls, which provided a script. So pairing those two together, I made it work for me. And I was able to reach out to my two senators and my state representative. So it is just about, like you said, being a part of, seeing all these movements and hot topics that are coming through on social media or just, in the media and wanting to be a part of it. But, I want to make a difference. My voice matters. But how does it work for me in a way that is not intimidating or I'm not putting my mental health at risk or so there's different ways and it's okay to want your voice to be heard, but you don't want to stress yourself out while doing it. So
Exactly, yes.
I mentioned caption apps. So Caption is not the only app. There's an app called Nagish. There's CapTel phones. There's a lot of different apps that are out there that are typically free for qualified users. So it's all about just making the form of communication accessible for you so that your voice is heard without sacrificing your mental state.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And also, you mentioned caption for those who have access to some type of hearing or have some type of voicing capability. For those who don't have that type of access, who can't hear or speak, we also have video phones, video relay service. And that can be, whether it's through Convo or so we've got Convo, we have Sorensen, Purple, Z video relay service. So those are options. Any of those who do know more options, please go ahead and let us know. We also have the option to write in a letter and send that to your senator as well. I know some people feel, there's some days, where I don't want to have a conversation with the interpreter. I'm not in the mood to have a conversation with the interpreter. So in those cases, you could write a letter. That's another option as well. So really, we're just here to share the resources that we have. And hopefully y'all can benefit something from this. What's important is how can we do advocacy work? And it could be something as simple as what we're talking about like this.
Yes, and you don't need to feel alone in the process. There might be other people that feel the same way that you do. Definitely talk about it. You want to reach out to other members of the community you feel that would help. Um, in my case, in particular, Mother Forward, I got connected with the group after sharing my personal childcare cost struggles. But this group works for me because they meet me where I'm at. There's no pressure to perform and it has to be your calling or it has to be in a way that I'm not comfortable because phone calls are still uncomfortable for me and I wear hearing aids. Um, so they have different actions where you feel like you're making a difference and you feel like you're contributing to the movement, but it's not in a way that is inaccessible for me. So you just can find a group that fits for you. And I feel like social media really helps with that, connecting people and putting you in touch with people, like-minded individuals with different resources.
Yes, and it's about finding that community, especially during a time like this, you know, finding a place where you have a sense of belonging and you're able to advocate wherever you can start and, you know, without getting lost in that process, you know, like I want to advocate, but I have no idea where to start. Maybe you can start by doing something like this, you know, how this live is, just figuring out how to advocate. And I do see a comment that says, like, are these things that, you know, are pre-written where we could just fill in the blanks, to be able to send in something to the Senate for deaf and hard of hearing community? Like, is there a template available? And I think that's a good question, you know, like there's not one that I know of, but I think that's important. You know, that's something that we could work on. Me and Shannon can figure out a template that we could share with the community to be able to use as like a guide on how to write or even, you know, what to say to senators. And so right now, oh, Shannon, okay.
Sorry, I
Welcome
dropped off
back.
there. Um, so you were saying, so Five Calls actually has a script provided. So me in particular, when I was using InnoCaption and Five Calls, I would toggle between the two apps to get the script from Five Calls and actually say it when I was using InnoCaption. But I'm sure that
Oh,
same
okay.
script, you can write it or you can have it up when you're doing the video relay. I've not used that service, but I'm hoping that they would be able to be a way to toggle between the two apps.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure there is some way, and I think that is something that we can share in the link. You know, we can probably gather some information or create some type of template for people who are writing letters that they can
Mm-hmm.
just copy. But I know there's some deaf and hard of hearing individuals who don't know where to start with writing in general, like they don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so the template typically would be a good way to have something ready that you could just fill out and, you know, send, especially because language barriers is also an issue. And so I think that's a great thing that someone brought up. And I think that's something that we can work on and figure out a way.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Are there any questions from the audience? Any comments? Anything the audience would like to say? You know, I would like to make this an opportunity for us to answer some of your questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, someone commented saying, "Oh, I love this. This is great, but I think that deaf consumers shouldn't be blocked by the language line. I think that there should be one moment for the interpreter. Deaf clients shouldn't be blocked by the state line. I think there should be a fluent ASL therapist. So I think maybe the interpreter is misreading that. Oh, okay. Meaning that there's blocked by interpretation. So sometimes if you were to call through a video phone, it's hard to get through the line because they think that the call is suspicious. They're not quite sure who they are. And so when deaf users call, it's better to have an interpreter not announce that they're using an interpreting service because sometimes they will ignore it if you were to do that. And so maybe tell the interpreter like, oh, don't mention that you're an interpreter online and process the call without announcing.
Hmm. I think if that happens, you got to blow them up on social media. You got to let people know that this is a barrier I faced, this is who I was trying to call, and this is not right because our voice deserves to be heard no matter if you're video relay, writing a letter. I mean, it's the same as if they're blocking the letter. It's the same as if they're blocking my call because I'm using a caption app. Like, we all deserve access to have our voices heard.
Right, 100%, 100%. And, you know, that's where accessibility is mental health.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes the barriers that we face can lead to us having more mental health issues, that feeling of isolation and not belonging, you know. So it's important to have things accessible. That
Mhm.
way, you know, we're able to meet our needs and, you know, address the things that we would like to address.
Right.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
too.
so much for joining and educating and spreading awareness, you know, about the importance and the different options on how we can phone the Senate and how we can do this advocacy work through language apps, through or captioning apps, through calling, you know, whatever the different options are. And feel free to reach out to Shannon and I if you have any things that you need help with, how to use it, any questions. We're going to figure out a template that we could put together so that the community can see exactly like how we can call, what are the apps, like whether or not you want to use video relay service, what type of apps are available, whether it's captioning or video phone. Also thinking about developing a template that we can help provide a guide on like what to write and submit that in.
Right.
And so we'll make sure to have all of these things readily available.
All right.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you.